Hello again everyone, and welcome to video 16 of my Linux Commands for Beginners series. And in this video I'm going to be going over the chown command, which is a command that you can use to change the user and or group ownership of a file or folder. So let's go ahead and get started. Now if I type ls-l, you see here that I have several files and a folder in my tutorials directory. So let's say, for example, that I wanted to change the ownership of CaseTest to Jill. How would I do that? Well, as mentioned, the chown command, that's the command that you would use to change the ownership of a file. So the syntax is basically chown space the name of the user that will become the new owner. In our case, let's give Jill ownership of it, followed by the name of the file or folder we're changing the ownership of. So in this example, chown Jill CaseTest. So we're changing the ownership of the CaseTest file to Jill. The user account must be typed first. Now that didn't work. Now why not? And that's because when we're changing the ownership of a file or folder, we need root permissions to do that. So sudo, we'll put sudo in front of it, so chown Jill CaseTest. And it would have asked you for your password, but mine was already cached. So let me clear the screen and do another listing. And you can see here that Jill is still the owner of, or is now the owner of the file. But my group is actually the owning group of the file. So let's say, for example, Jill is in the accounting department and we want Jill to be the main owner of the file, but we want anyone in the accounting team to be the owning group, which would then give the accounting team read and execute permissions, because read and execute are the only things that you see here. They're the only things we're giving access to group members. So let's go ahead and change the owning group of that file. And I'm going to go ahead and recall the command we used in the first place. So you see here, chown Jill, which is the user account, that's the new owner, then the name of the file, that's how we gave Jill access to it. But what if we wanted to give the accounting team access to it? We'll just type colon after the username and the name of the group. Just like that. So sudo chown the user account, and then optionally you can add a colon and the name of the group you want to be the new owner, then the file or folder name. Press enter, and it accepted the command. So let's take a look at the output of the listing command now. Now you can see that Jill is the new owner of the file and the owning group is accounting. So now Jill, being the owner, she has read, write, and execute permissions to that file. The accounting group, they can now read it and execute it, but they can't make changes to it because they don't have write permissions. And this is something that you'll see in the field quite often. You might have a manager, for example, that has full access to the file to make changes, but maybe that manager doesn't want their employees to make changes to it, but they still want their employees to read it and see what's inside the file. So that's how you do that. That's how you change the owner, the owning user, and the owning group. You do that with a chown command. But there actually is one more thing to note about this command though, because you can use this against directories as well. Now for example, if I recall the command and I type the name of a folder instead, check this out. If I do another listing, now you see I'll have the same output here, or the same owner and the same group owner here for the test folder. So regardless of whether or not it's a folder or a file, you use the same command, so that makes it a lot easier. But in directories though, there is one more thing that's of importance. Let's say, for example, that the test folder contains lots of stuff and lots of other folders inside of it, and you basically want to change the ownership of not only the test folder, but all the files and folders that are underneath it. To do that, you simply just type -r after the chown command, which stands for recursive. And when you use -R just like that, what it's going to do is it's not only going to change the permissions as you indicated here for the test folder, it's also going to change the ownership permissions for everything underneath that folder as well. And you can see the output is still the same. And you could test this yourself by creating a folder and then creating several folders underneath that folders, basically a bunch of subdirectories, a bunch of files all over the place, and play around with changing ownerships. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what I recommend you do. Make sure that you understand this command, how it works, how to change ownership. It's actually fairly easy to know, so you might already get the idea already, but in case you don't, practice, practice, practice. Because next video we're going to go over the chmod or chmod command, which we'll use to actually change the permissions that are listed here, actually here. And the chmod command will allow us to do that, and that's when things start to get a little bit more advanced. So before you go on to video number 17, be darn sure you understand how to read these permissions. You know what all this means. You know the difference between the owning user, the owning group, and you understand how to create groups, how to remove groups, and finally you understand how to change group ownership and user ownership of a file and folder, as well as how to do that recursively. So again, practice, because it's going to get a little bit more advanced going forward. So anyway, until then, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, and the next video should already be available. So when you're ready, go ahead and move on to video 17.